It was March 15th, 44 BC. The most powerful man on earth woke up that morning like any other. He had conquered nations, crossed the Rubicon, made Rome tremble at his name. But before the sun set that day, 23 men he called friends would drive their blades into his body. 23 wounds, 23 betrayals. And the last face he saw was someone he loved. Tonight, we go back to that room, to that moment, to the night the greatest empire in history lost its soul. Settle in, close your eyes, let the past carry you gently into the night. Take a slow breath. Imagine a city unlike anything the world had ever seen. Rome. In the 1st century before Christ, Rome was not just a city, it was an idea. Marble columns that touched the sky, roads stretching across 3 continents, armies that had never known defeat. And at the very center of this world stood one man, Gaius Julius Caesar. Born into a noble family, Caesar had climbed higher than any Roman before him. He had led his armies across the cold rivers of Gaul, fought battles in the deserts of Egypt, and returned to Rome, not as a general, but as a god. The people loved him. The poor called his name in the streets. The soldiers would die for him without question. But power always attracts shadows. And in the marble halls of Rome's great Senate, a group of men had been watching Caesar grow too powerful, too loved, too dangerous. They called themselves the Liberators, the Liberators, and they had made a decision. Caesar had to die. Let your body sink deeper now. Feel the weight leaving your shoulders, your arms growing heavy, your breath slow and steady. The conspiracy had been growing for months. At the center of it all was a man named Gaius Cassius Longinus. Cassius was a senator, a soldier, a man who had once fought alongside Caesar himself. But something had changed. Cassius had watched Caesar stand before the Roman people and accept the title of Dictator Perpetuo, dictator forever. And in that moment, Cassius saw not a hero, but a king. Rome had not had a king in 400 years. The very word was poison to a Roman senator. Cassius began to whisper, quietly at first, in dark corners of the Senate. Over candlelit dinners, he whispered to men who had their own fears, their own ambitions, their own reasons to want Caesar gone. And then, he went to find the one man whose name alone would justify everything, Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus was different from the others. He was not driven by jealousy, not by ambition. Brutus was Caesar's friend, perhaps his closest. Caesar had trusted Brutus completely, had shown him kindness, had given him power and position. Some even whispered that Caesar loved Brutus like a son, and that is exactly why Cassius needed him. A conspiracy without Brutus was just a group of jealous men. With Brutus, it became something noble, something that history might remember as justice. It took weeks of persuasion, weeks of letters slipped under doors, of voices in shadows. But finally, Brutus said yes, and the date was set. The Ides of March, March 15th. Let your eyes grow heavier now. The city of Rome sleeps. The streets are quiet. The torches burn low in the early morning dark. Caesar did not sleep well that night. His wife, Calpurnia, had woken screaming from a nightmare. She had dreamed of Caesar's statue streaming with blood, of Romans bathing their hands in it. She begged him, "Do not go to the Senate today. Please, stay home." Caesar was not a man who feared dreams, but something about that morning felt different. A soothsayer had warned him weeks before, beware the Ides of March. Caesar had laughed then, but now he stood at his window looking out over the golden rooftops of Rome, the city he had built, the city he had bled for. He made his decision. He would go. Julius Caesar dressed slowly that morning. His toga was white, pure white, the color of a man with nothing to hide. He did not know it would be the last thing he ever wore. As he walked through the streets of Rome, the city moved around him. Merchants setting up their stalls, children running between columns, senators bowing their heads as he passed. Everything looked normal. But in the halls of the theater of Pompey, where the Senate was meeting that day, 23 men had hidden blades beneath their togas, and they were waiting. Caesar arrived. The senators rose to greet him, smiling faces, warm hands, familiar voices. And then, one senator stepped forward. He reached out as if to make a request, and then he grabbed Caesar's toga. That was the signal. Breathe slowly now, in and out. Let the story carry you like a river in the dark. The room erupted. Men who had called themselves Caesar's friends closed in from every side. Caesar fought back at first. He was a soldier. Even at 55 years old, his instincts were those of a general. He grabbed the blade of one attacker and cut his hand. He pulled his toga over his face so he would not have to watch. The blows came fast. One, then another, then another. The great marble floor of the Senate grew dark beneath him. 23 wounds, and then, through the chaos, Caesar saw a face he knew better than almost any other. Marcus Brutus, standing there, blade in hand. The historians tell us that Caesar said nothing in that moment. No words, only silence. And then, he stopped fighting. He pulled his toga up to cover himself with dignity. And Julius Caesar, dictator of Rome, conqueror of Gaul and Egypt, the most powerful man in the world, was gone. The Senate chamber fell silent. The conspirators stood frozen, blades in their hands, waiting for the cheers that never came. Outside, the streets of Rome were already beginning to shake, and so it ended. Not on a battlefield, not against a foreign enemy, but in a room full of men he trusted. Julius Caesar had survived 100 battles, crossed freezing rivers, walked through the deserts of Egypt, but he could not survive the betrayal of a friend. History has always been this way. The greatest falls never come from outside. They come from within. Let that thought drift slowly through your mind now, like a leaf on still water. The Rome that Caesar built did not die that day. His name lived on. In emperors who took the title Caesar for centuries, in the word Kaiser, in the word Tsar, all echoes of one man, one name, one night. The candles of Rome have long gone dark. The Senate chamber stands empty now, and the Ides of March are just a whisper in the dust of history. You have traveled far tonight, through ancient streets, through marble halls, through one of history's greatest betrayals. Now, let the journey end here. Let your thoughts grow soft. Let your breath slow. Let the past fade gently into the dark. Sleep well. The calm historian will be here when the night comes again.